Sounds good. I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah. Dude, I love that shirt. What does that say? That's a
Oh,
Killdozer shirt.
yeah. St. Marvin. Tread on those who tread on you.
That's
Oh,
incredible, dude.
yeah.
Yeah,
Local
that's
gun
a
shop had it.
local.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. I need to get a Killdozer shirt. Where we
I'll see
have
if
kind
I
of a
I'll
do
see
what?
if I can find you one.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about making some dirty and driven ones with but instead of our logo doing the Killdozer.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Yeah. We're in the design phase of that right now.
I think the boys will buy it.
I think they would
Uh,
too, so can't
cool.
beat the good Killdozer.
No, no. I mean, no. We could talk about Marvin all day, but we got other things to talk about.
Yeah. So you're in Nevada?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Reno area.
Reno area. Cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
our primary working area would be we get into Tahoe a little bit, but mostly Reno, Carson, and Gardnerville. And then I try not to go any further east than that because the ground gets so fucking rocky, it ain't even worth doing. So
Really?
yeah, so Reno, Tahoe,
Hmm.
Carson City.
Do you own the company?
Yes, sir.
How
Yeah,
many
we
people do you have?
it's just three of us and sometimes four, but Johnny and Rob are my main guys. They've been with me, God, about a year after I started, and then got one more guy that comes in. He was working for me, but he got an offer he couldn't refuse, and I couldn't touch it. So
Hmm.
he still comes back and works for me on Saturdays and Mondays. But it's basically just the three of us,
Nice.
you know. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It looks like you guys work in some really cool areas just where you're at. And
yeah,
your
there's
stories every day. The mountains are incredible.
there's a lot of different terrain here, and I mean Nevada, you either love it or hate it. But our side, we're on the Eastern Sierra, so it's very pretty over here. But we got the foothills too, and in Virginia City. We were just working in Virginia City a couple days ago, and I mean, we could see all the way to the Sierras. We could see out to, I mean, you could see in every direction from that job site. It was pretty gorgeous.
Yeah. I
So
was looking at your stories. I was like, holy shit, man. I wouldn't mind going to work to that.
you should come and check it out.
I will.
It's an awesome area. I've tried to leave many times, but I always find myself back here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so a lot of people are. It seems like they leave and come back. Where all of you tried to go elsewhere?
Oh shit. I lived in Florida for a minute, Arizona. Um, I don't know. We're always talking about moving, but once you're I've had the conversation with myself. Once you're established somewhere, trying to go somewhere new, it's about the dumbest fucking thing you could do because you have all your contacts. I mean, I'd be leaving 30 years of contacts. That's not good business.
Yeah.
So this is
How long
home
have you
for
been in
now.
business?
I'm sorry.
How long have you been in business?
I think this might be 7 years. I think. I don't know. I don't really keep track of that kind of thing. I think
Cool.
it's 6 or 7. I don't know. I think it's 7.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
um,
That's good. That's a good period of time to be in business though.
yeah, it's been. I've been extremely fortunate. This business is a lot about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you know too, obviously, or else you're just going to get a bad name. But like I said earlier, having the contacts, it's a big fucking deal. It's a huge deal. Knowing the right people and knowing the people in the game and having that relationship. I mean, you have to have that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Without that, you don't have anything really.
no, no, I don't think so. I mean,
What kind of projects do
like,
you like to do?
you know, I was fucking up there for a while. I get a lot of calls for oddball shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I like being that guy that can go do anything.
Yeah.
But then when you sit down and look at the numbers, you make decent money, but you don't make the money you could if you just stick to what you're fucking good at.
Mm.
If you just stick to what you know, I mean, that's where I've been screwing up because, like I said, I got that ego and I want to be, the motherfucker that somebody calls for anything, and that's been bad. So to answer your question, I've been trying to stick with small commercial and custom residential. That's where our bread and butter is, but mostly small commercial.
Yeah.
That's uh, that's where the best profit is, and it's so much fucking easier to deal with a super than it is a homeowner. Or
That's no lie.
you having that middleman in there that can just take care of those stupid conversations you know you're trying to explain to somebody and they don't get it. So
Yeah.
that's what I prefer is the small commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know where you're coming from on that. It seems like the smaller the job you do, and those oddball jobs are usually just like the smaller stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it just seems like the smaller the job, the bigger the pain in the ass, I've learned.
Absolutely. Well, smaller the job, usually the smaller the job, you're dealing with somebody that's very inexperienced on the other side, and that's where all the headache comes in. Doing the
Right.
small job is a piece of cake. Dealing with the person's the hard part.
Yeah.
So, especially if, they're in a circumstance that's stressful or whatever it might be, an emergency call or whatever, they're already worked up. And then you got to go explain all these things you got to do and what the price is going to be and about have a fucking heart attack because they're already wound to the moon. So,
Mm.
yeah, those small ones do suck.
Yeah. It seems like, and a lot of the small ones, people, especially if it's a residential deal, like, I'm in the paving business. So if
Hmm.
someone ever wants like a driveway,
Hmm.
they will nitpick you to death. For you, it's like a $4,000 job. But to them, they're like, well, I'm spending $4,000 on this. And you're like, well, to them, it's a huge job. And to you, it's like, we just need to get this done out of the way so this guy gets off our back. And it doesn't really make too big a difference at the end of the day.
I know you get those customers that are sweating you, and it's like, man, I almost didn't get out of bed for this. So the fact that we're here with a smile on your face, putting down some quality product, I think we should have a little more happiness coming out of you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I've dealt with
So
some crazy people like that.
no, yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing. The longer I've been in business, the more I've gotten away from customers like that.
Yeah.
I mean, once you start to build a little bit of a name for yourself and you're working for established folks, I don't know. I used to deal with that bullshit more, and now it's becoming less and less. So that's
That's the beauty of experience is you can pick and choose a little more.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So are you guys mainly just doing excavation work or do you do like utilities and all that or
Yeah, we do. We do the utilities as well. I don't know. I've talked to a couple guys across the states, and I don't know how it works in every state, but I know some guys, you got to have special license for septic or put any plumbing in the ground, and we do everything. If it goes in the ground, we do it. Water, gas, electric, sewer. Um, I don't know. I have 5 licenses, and like I said, I don't know how it works other places, but we've got our underground and our paving, and then fuck, I haven't looked at them since I went and got my license, but there's some other utility shit in there.
yeah,
So yeah, we do the whole nine.
nice.
Yep. Uh,
What made you want to go into business for yourself?
I hated my fucking boss. He I was working for a paving contractor uh, downtown over south of me. I'm not going to say his name, but the boys around here know who he is. He There's some bullshit with. I was driving truck at the time, and I had a tungsten ring on my hand, and I went. I don't know. I was talking with my hands and shit, talking to the other drivers, and my ring hit the window and fucking busted it. Well, long
Oh
story
shit.
short, I told him I was going to fix it. I called him and told him, hey, no big deal. I get back and he pays the mechanic next door to fix the fucking thing when I've got all my tools down there. So, and then he took $500 out of my paycheck. And at the time, you're just a broke dick truck driver. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck, dude, that's a lot of money. So I lost my shit. We got into it. And then one of my homies that's in business, he's like, dude, why don't you go buy a truck? So I don't know. I never thought of it. So I went and bought a truck. It was my Kenworth motor was blown up, uglier than fuck. God, it was disgusting. So we put, I don't know, sunk a lot of money into that project, and I helped the mechanic do what I could. I was mostly his apprentice at the time, but did
Yeah.
some wrenching on it and welding and paint prep and all that, and got her on the road. It's a triple You guys run transfers out there where you're at?
What do you mean transfer?
Oh, maybe you don't.
I'm
It's
guessing not.
so it's we call it a triple transfer. So you got your 10 wheeler, and then both your trailers have it's like a railroad car. So your tongue drops to the ground, your truck backs over it, and there's some pins that lock into the truck. You know, they're guide pins. And after you've dumped your truck box, you back up to the first trailer, which is actually your last trailer, and then the tub has some rollers and a little electric motor, and it rolls into the fucking truck, and then you can go dump that tub. And after you dump that, you can throw it back on its trailer, go around to the next trailer. So you got three tubs with you.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I just looked at
So
pictures. Yeah, we don't run those where we're at.
okay, so that's what my truck was, and then I got going for a minute, and my best friend at the time was building a house, and he fired his excavation contractor, and he's like, "Yo, why don't we just finish this? Why don't you go buy a Mini X? I'll go buy a fucking skid steer, and when we're done with it, you can use a skid steer and you can go do some dirt work." I'm like, "Deal." So we
Deal,
did
yeah.
it, and that's that's basically how she started. I didn't have a, I mean, I didn't plan on going into excavation. I mean, I'd always done it, but I never thought I was gonna be a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing it, and I mean, 6 months goes in. I'm like, fuck, I need to go get a license. And in Nevada, you have to have, we have a bid limit here. So you get 20%. Well, how does it work? I'm going to explain this wrong, but so what I did is I had to save up 20 grand. And since I had the 20 grand, you get 5 times what's in your account. So that's 100 grand. So that 100 grand was my first bid limit. I was in Nevada. That
Interesting.
was, yeah, I don't know. Nevada's different. It's one of the more difficult states to be a contractor in, because I talk to these other guys, like, oh, just go get a fucking business license and we're off and rolling. I'm like, I wish, dude. So anyway, I had to save that money up so then I could bid up to $100,000 per job.
Is that just to
I
get a
mean,
bond for any job, or is that just like specifically government work?
no, that's any job. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So you don't have to start at 100 grand. I mean, shit, you could put 5 grand in your account, and then you've got a $25,000 bid limit.
Hmm.
So you can start wherever you want, and then anything, I think it's anything over a million in your account, you can have an unlimited license, and go bid that big commercial shit.
Hmm.
But yeah, we have limitations on what our liquid flow is in the account. So
Wow.
it's different.
So they control like how much you can bid, even on like a residential job or a private job, something like that.
Oh fuck yeah, yeah. My
Wow.
well, we just did won a big contract for a custom residential in Reno, and the general I'm working for had to go up his license because the guy he beat out was madder than a wet hen. So he's like, man, I got to go do this legit because this motherfucker's going to turn us in. I bet. I was like, get her done, baby. Let's get rolling. So,
Dude, how is that any of the government's fucking business? How much you can bid on a private
oh,
job?
dude, do not get me rolling on the fucking government, homie. That's that's all we'll talk about today. I
Back to
promise.
Marv. Dude.
Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Dude, that's ridiculous. I mean, I understand that. I mean, Oklahoma, obviously they regulate if you're bidding on ODOT work or other government work,
Mm-hmm.
they ask for copies of your financials, make sure you can bid their job. I get that. I mean, if you're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
bidding for them, but I don't know how they can tell you how much you're allowed to bid on for, going and grading somebody's driveway.
That's that's the conversation to be had, my man. I mean, there's too many fucking people with positions that have no business having them. I mean, we have no business having the positions to begin with. I
Yeah.
mean, who's somebody to tell you what you and another man go agree on? I mean, that's between you and the other man. Period.
Yeah.
You're grown ass men. You should be able to make that decision. So the fact that we have that's very upsetting. And even in Reno, Reno is Washoe County, and we do a fair amount of work up there, and it is becoming the most irritating fucking place to work, almost worse than Tahoe. So
Wow.
Tahoe, we have TRPA, which is Tahoe Regional Planning Association, and they are the biggest fucking Nazis on the planet.
Hmm.
I'll tell this story. I was working for a billionaire up there, and it was right when I first got going, and finished all the dirt work and shit. And he's like, "Hey, my dock's fucked up." I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I'm gonna, because I almost got in a lot of fucking A lot of fucking trouble for it. But so his dock, I don't know, it ripped off a few of the cleats that ride on the posts. So my Mini was brand new, spotless. He's like, "Hey, can you go fix the dock?" Sure. So I go down there and I had to go into the water like fucking 3 feet and then reach out and pull the dock in closer so I could fix it. Well, I took some pictures. I wasn't thinking about it. And a couple of weeks later, I get this phone call from this dude, and he was ready to butt fuck me to the moon, man.
Hmm.
He was so pissed off that that excavator had touched the water. He was wanting to know where it was, whose property it was, and I'm playing stupid. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, that's not your excavator. I said, no, man, I just stole some pictures off the internet. That's not mine.
Hmm.
Trying to lie my way out of it, and he's like, all right. Then he calls me back like 3 hours later. He said, is this so and so's house? I was like, I don't know who you're talking about. I knew exactly who he was talking about. It was that motherfucker's house that I was at. Well, he says, you sure this isn't so and so's house? I says, I don't know. It might be. I don't know. I'm a sub on this job. I don't know. So I'm telling my buddy this, who got me the job, and he's like, oh shit. So come to find out, that customer I was working for is the only man in history that's ever sued TRPA and won. So
Oh,
TRPA's got some serious stroke up there, and they're all hippie tree huggers, which don't get me wrong, I love nature and all that shit, but these guys are fucking out of control. You can't do anything up there without them
yeah.
regulating every single step. So luckily, I was at so and so's house, and he put them through the ringer so fucking hard. When he found out it was his house, he quit calling.
Hmm.
So it's
That's
getting
funny.
difficult up here. It's
Yeah.
like I said, you can't put a machine in a piece of water. I mean, I get it if it's filthy and leaking fuel and shit, but come on, man. You
Yeah.
got
Just,
you got
tracking in there a little bit.
Dude, it was well, and then they talk about these microscopic fucking plants that grow in the fucking sand that you're gonna ruin them, and it's like can't even see they're there. I don't understand why this is a problem, but I mean, they make you tarp your fucking materials at night. You got to put wattles around them. You got to do all kinds of crazy shit if you're working in tile. It's just they've made it so nuts up there that it's not even fun to go up there anymore. And it used to be the place to work in the summer because it's a lot cooler up there, and it's fucking gorgeous. So, but they've made it miserable. So all the government overstepping, and now they're doing it in Reno. That was the whole point of my rant there. But it's getting to where the game ain't as fun as it used to be.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I was having this conversation with one of the girls that I work with. Actually, I was telling her about the different regulations we have on federal jobs.
Hmm.
And, anytime that there's federal money, and I said, we looked at like all the shit that you see in, the infrastructure bill, and we saw it on the news, and we saw that, oh, there's all this bullshit money going to bullshit stuff. Well, you kind of look at that and then you forget about it, but then you do a job with federal money in it and you realize, like, holy crap, there's a lot of just red tape and bullshit we have to deal with now.
Oh yeah, I don't even fuck with the federal jobs. I, I'm not interested, not even slightly. I
Yeah.
got a buddy that's got some. He wanted me to start bidding some NDOT work, which is our Nevada Department of Transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And I start, dude, just the qualification packet that they sent over. I shit you not, man. It had to have been an inch thick. It just all this fucking paper. I'm like, I'm not interested. I am. You guys keep your money. Like they're good money jobs, but I don't give a fuck. All that nonsense and all those people you got to deal with, and all these dickheads that don't have any field experience coming out there and telling you how to do your job. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So I don't screw with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, where we're at, luckily, like with ODOT, they're pretty, at least the ones that we work with. Now, there's different divisions and different residencies, and some of them I know can be trying at times, but, where we're at specifically, they're pretty easy to work with. But yeah, just getting the pre qualification stuff is a royal pain in the ass.
I would imagine it's a hell of a lot better out there because you guys still got some good old boys out there. We've
Yeah.
gotten so
Oh,
fucking yuppie over here that I mean, Nevada is the new California, and it's y'all know how the regulations in California are. I mean, you see that
yeah.
shit all over the place. So the fact that it's bleeding over here has been a very difficult adjustment for me.
Mhm. Yeah, we're starting to see that some, like, during a lot of the COVID stuff. I was like, man, I'm so thankful to be living in Oklahoma because it's just we're still cowboys here. I mean,
Hmm.
people still just don't give a fuck about a lot of things here.
Still American. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in the COVID, dude. I could go on and on about that too. It's got some serious problems to fix around this place besides our infrastructure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and what they don't realize, especially those people like you're talking about, whenever they put all these rules and regulations, they're just hurting the communities and they're hurting themselves. The contractors have to charge so much money
hmm.
to fit their regulations. Now, look, some regulations great. I mean, I can't even imagine what this industry would look like if there was absolutely zero environmental or any sort of regulation on stuff at all. But a lot of these places
Well,
are
we'd
just
look
getting out
like
of hand.
fucking Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
you know, mud huts and fucking lions running around. I don't know. It'd be a
Yeah.
shit show. And I'm not for a bunch of we have too much regulation. We need some. We need
Agreed.
some oversight because there's a bunch of fucking hack jobs out there. But we could dial it back probably a good 80%. I
Yeah.
mean, I think everything was clicking along pretty good back in the 90s. I don't know about you, but shit was all right back then.
Can't say I remember much of the 90s because I wasn't born for most of them, but
No shit, you're a young buck. How old are you?
I'm only 25.
Oh, attaboy. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
But
then I'll
yeah.
tell you, the 90s were fucking awesome, and people minded their own business. Everybody acted right. There was common sense. It was a lovely fucking time. So, sorry you missed it.
I'm sorry I missed it too.
You would have enjoyed it.
Not to mention you had better music back then.
I was actually thinking that the other day. I don't know what, I think it was, I don't know, Brooks and Dunn or some shit. I'm like, God damn, the music was so much better too. Everything was better. Everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, man, it just those regulations just harm people because, and a lot of the people pushing it, it turns around and it's like, then they hire you and you're like, yeah, it's going to be this much. And it's like, whoa, how's it going to be this much? And it's, well, got all this red tape we got to
mhm.
cut through. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Every job's different. I mean, that's my biggest thing is that's part of the reason I'd rather do commercial or work under a general contractor
Mm-hmm.
because I got too much of a heart. We went over and looked at a job yesterday, me and a general I work for, and these people's house has a fucking sinkhole under it. So we crawl under there, and my buddy was telling me about it because he'd been there prior, and so we crawl into the crawl space, and under the house there's the strip footings because we have crawl spaces out here. I don't know what you all have out there, but so we got a crawl space, and we go down there, and you can see the ground separating from the foundation on one side, and you can see some cracks in there that go down like 5 feet. And this is all loamy, nice soil, right? And then you go 10 feet over and look the opposite direction under there. There's like 2.5 feet of, well, let me back up. This was a problem before, so they went and poured a bunch of fucking concrete. So there's a concrete, I guess, patch between two strip footings, and so you had to crawl under and look under it. But that the ground had, long story short, dropped 2.5 feet, and I mean, their house was starting to settle, and you can tell they're stressed out about it, and rightly so. And you just look at these people, and your fucking heart goes out to them because you know what it's going to cost, or you've got an idea what it's going to cost. Something like that's going to be T&M because you don't know what you're going to run into.
Yeah.
And having that conversation with those people, and I mean, you feel like you're breaking their heart. It sucks.
It's terrible.
So that's the part of the job that's tough for me because I don't know. I know how it is. I got a house. I know I'd fucking have my heart fall through my ass if that was going on. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I don't know why I got on with that one, but I did.
Yeah. That's,
So
that's the hard
it's
part too. Whenever you're in those positions of telling someone how much it's going to be and they just go, well, how can we make it cheaper? And you're like, dude,
yeah,
you can't.
no, and it's probably going to be more than that 9 times out of 10 when you have jobs
Mhm.
that are fucked up like that.
Yeah. It's
So,
terrible.
because you don't know what you're going to run into. And we still haven't figured out exactly why the ground's settling. I mean, we know the original contractor, or we know who they were. And they're a fucking hack job. They're not around anymore. So, I mean, it could have been a debris pile. It could have just been piss poor compaction. I mean, come to find out, it was the last house that was built on the block.
Mm.
So you know how that is when the developer's ready to roll out and get their paycheck. So who? I mean, there's a bunch of different things that could have happened, but we haven't found it yet because we haven't started yet.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez. Dude, that's one thing that gets me about like residential developers is, and again, that's where like having a little bit of regulation is good sometimes is because I see, and I
mm-hmm,
know some that are really good, but I know some that are just terrible. I mean, so I have a buddy who he does that kind of work. Well,
mm-hmm,
he's building and he's been getting into more commercial stuff. Well, he's building this commercial building in a nearby town, and behind them they're building a housing subdivision.
mm-hmm.
And he goes, dude, he's like the city people. He's like they don't give a shit. And he said it's a free for all out here. He's like, which is good for
Absolutely.
people like me. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
people like me. He's like, it's great because I'm going to do the right job no matter what. And he goes,
Yep.
but these
Yep.
guys that are building the subdivision, he said they don't even have a roll off on site. They're just digging a hole and burying all their shit.
What? We cut out there for a second. You there?
Yeah, yeah, we're still here. Yeah.
Okay. They were just digging a hole and burying the shit?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All their debris. And and the guy even told the city inspector, and the city inspector's like, yeah, I think they did that last time too. And he's like, dude, he's like,
Man,
it's
you
so
guys are country out there. Holy shit.
yeah. Well, this is a small, shitty town not too far from here. And he was like, dude,
Uh-huh.
you guys need to get that under control. He's like, that's not good.
No. No, that's unacceptable because
Yeah.
eventually somebody's going to get that piece of dirt and put something on it and then they're going to be fucked.
Yeah.
That's lazy. That's lazy as shit.
Yeah.
Well, when you started talking about that, we God, it was like the second year I had Johnny and Rob, and we got a subdivision to do in here in Carson. And after that job, I decided I'm not doing that anymore because of the hack jobs that are not directly working for you, but just on the job in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be associated with that kind of work because,
No.
like you said, the inspectors nowadays they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. It's a fucking joke that when they come out here, they don't get in the ditch, they don't put a level on my pipe. I mean, they don't check joints, they don't do any of that shit. They come up, look in the hole, they make sure there's pipe in the ground, and then they sign you off.
Yep.
It's pathetic. And then you feel bad for the homeowner. It's like, why the fuck are we even paying for permits? You guys don't even provide the service that we're paying for.
Yeah.
So not only that, and I think they know building a little bit more than they know dirt. But as far as dirt goes, they got no business being there. I mean, I was just doing a perk test the other day. I about lost my fucking mind. I had these two women show up, and I'm going to back up a little bit. Our old perk test engineer, Dan, he's since passed away, which really sucks because he's a fucking awesome dude and he's a gangster at his job. But he could do a perk test in like 30 minutes, hour max. These broads were here for 4 fucking hours, James.
Oof.
4 hours doing a perk test in sandy ground. It should not take that long. And then I find out how they're doing the perk tests, and it's the complete opposite of how Dan used to do it. I mean, Dan was the OG around here. Everybody used him. I mean, he really knew his shit. So going from working with a real professional to these women that had to make a phone call to the engineer every other, 30 minutes, it was, I don't know, just one more thing in this industry that's getting more and more upsetting is the incompetence. So, and then, I've heard some guys talking about, getting people into the trades. There's one specific I think of. He does a podcast as well. And I don't know, it's, they keep trying to soften this industry up. They keep trying doing this inclusivity bullshit. We don't need that. We need real fucking men out here that have pride in what they do and want to do some cool shit and make a name for themselves and provide a good product while doing it. That's how this game used to be, this entire industry. I don't care what you did. You're a carpenter, fucking tile guy. I don't give a shit. Like everybody back in the day had pride in their work. They wanted to be a fucking man and they had accountability for their work. We don't have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
we are lacking so badly on men these days that, all these companies are willing to just take whoever. We just need a warm body, and that's not going to cut it.
No,
Period.
it's not.
Especially, as long as you got old school guys around. I mean, I'm not old school, but I was brought up by all the old hands, and they were pretty fucking rough on us, but it made you a man. You learned how to act on the job site. You learned what was okay, what not to do. I mean, we need those guys, and they are dwindling.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've talked about a lot on this show, and I mean, I talk about it a lot just in my personal life. Is weak men are what's ruining society,
Hmm.
and they're
Hmm.
what's killing the industry because you know it's like you're saying. I mean, you look back at say World War II, the Greatest Generation. Those dudes were freaking gangster as hell. And if you still meet any of them, the few that are still alive, they're still just you can just tell that there's something special about each and every one of those individuals if you get the chance to meet them. Most of them are 100 years old almost now, but I mean, they're incredible people.
Yeah.
And weak men, they just lazy pushovers. And some of them, if you can get somebody who is bound and determined, because a lot of kids nowadays haven't had a job before they graduate high school or college or wherever they're entering the industry at. They've never had a job, so they don't know how to work. But if you can
No.
take a kid that, even if he doesn't know how to work, but he's driven and motivated,
Hmm.
you can turn him into a hell of a hand.
Oh, I'd fucking kill to have somebody like that. Just have some fucking drive. I don't care if you know anything. Like when Johnny came to work for me, he'd never done construction before, like any sort of construction. He was food industry.
Hmm.
He's a hell of a cook, fucking amazing cook. But like I said, he didn't know shit about dirt. And now, fuck, I'm glad to have him. He thinks of things that I don't sometimes. And I should have, everything bang, bang, bang. But you know how shit goes. You got 9 million things on your hands. So he's,
Mhm.
in the last, I think he's been with me 5 years, 6 years. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how long it's been, but he, he's come leaps and bounds from where he started. But he came to work. He kept his mouth shut. He did what he was asked, and he's a good fucking hand. He can run shit 6, 8 pieces of equipment proficiently. Mostly we run hoe around here, but I uh, I came back to a job the other day, and he was running dozer. It was this old clapped out dozer that we rented because the ground was so fucked up. I came back. It looked like. I've been doing this what 17 years now. I think. I don't know. It looked like somebody got in the seat that's been in it for a while. It looked fucking tits. I was impressed because this dozer had the slowest fucking hydraulics I've ever seen, and he's come a long fucking way. So if you've got the drive and you're willing to keep your mouth shut and take a few ass chewings along the way, you can get a lot done in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
So I want to talk about that then, because you're saying he came into the industry with no experience and you found him.
hmm
So, first of all, how did you
hmm
find him?
uh, my ex. So it was her nephew. So Johnny's aunt was my ex. So that's how I met him, and he was just kind of tired of the bullshit he was doing. He was a manager. He wasn't some low level motherfucker. Um, but he got tired of it, and he wanted to go. He was thinking about going mining or something like that. I'm like, well, let's give it a shot, and he did. And there's we put in some hard fucking days, and there's no give up with him. And same with Rob. I got lucky with him. He's probably one of the best truck drivers in the area. Well, not probably, he is. Doesn't tear up iron, fucking shows up every day. Both solid dudes. I couldn't have gotten any luckier with my guys, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the reason I ask is because, like, we've got several guys that listen to the show. I would say probably our main person who at least is engaged in the show, our main demographic is guys like you who have 1 to 5 employees,
mhm.
and including themselves. And they're hitting me up, hey man, I'm just trying to find one guy. That's my biggest struggle right now, is finding one guy. I don't care if he knows his elbow from his asshole. If he knows or he has some drive, then we can teach him. But as a who was your first hire? Was that Johnny or Rob?
Actually, it was another guy that's no longer with me, but it was Johnny, and then actually Rob was working for that fucking paving contractor that I hate, and so I got a hard on for him. So I, when I saw Rob, I saw him at a job one day, and I knew how much of a prick this other fuck was. I was like, "Hey man, how's it going over there?" And I introduced myself, and he's like, "Nah, he's been pretty good. He's kept all his promises so far." I was like, "Well, you let me know when that changes."
Hmm.
About 5 months goes by, and he calls me the day before Christmas, and I said, "You ready to talk?" And he says, "Yep." So he came over to the house. We talked, and he's been here ever since. So
So
that's
whenever you found, so Rob already had experience, huh?
yes, yeah. Rob's been in the game a long time.
So like with Johnny, then, so you find him, he's your uh basically ex's nephew, and you knew
Hmm.
him kind of, and you knew that he was at least a hard worker. He just didn't know anything.
Actually, Johnny, he's an interesting character. He doesn't open up to you very quick. I lived with that motherfucker for over a year, and he had only said about 10 words to me in that first year. He's awfully particular on who he lets get to know him. But yeah, once we had a little bit of a conversation, and you see little things when you're living with somebody. You see what kind of person they are.
Right.
How cleanly they are, what they do, how they are with the kids, and shit like that. So. Um, I never saw anything bad with him. He just didn't want to fucking talk to me. So
Mm-hmm.
once we broke through that, yeah, then that's when the conversation happened. So it's
So how do you take him from being nothing, just a guy
hmm
that knows nothing about construction but wants to? He has that drive. He's got that ambition, because I see this with kids a lot. There's a lot of young people entering the industry, but they're not sticking around because nobody's taking the time to truly invest in them. They might have the
hmm
drive to get better and improve, but then no one's checking that drive and saying, "All right, no one's taking them under the wing and teaching them, and they're not figuring it out because no one's giving them even a chance." So, how do you take
hmm
that guy from just a guy with drive that knows nothing to a guy that's a really good operator?
it's just it's time. It's patience. It's I was thinking so many things when you're saying that. When I'm going to say this, in the line of work that I do, there's so many variables. I mean, you could do the same kind of job, but our ground is so different around here. There's so many fucking variables.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just teaching all day long. You can't, when I started, a boss will just, he's thinking about all this shit in his head and he'll just say, go do this task. And what I've learned, and I used to be really shitty at it, I wasn't a very good leader, and I've been working on it, is explaining what's going through my head, because half the times we don't have plans. I build it in my head, like that Virginia City job we just did. I think you saw it on my story. That Rocky prick. We didn't have plans for that
Mm-hmm.
because that's kind of a good old boy county. Um, and so it's really tough for the guys to know what to do because there's no fucking plans to look at. You're like, oh, Chandler's got it in his head. Well, that's great. I can't see what that motherfucker's got going on because there's like 9 million tabs open and you've got ADHD. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
So I've had to start explaining to my guys, better. And that's where I was lacking in the beginning. So, and it's just, honestly, I don't know why Johnny stuck around as long as he did because I wasn't the best boss in the beginning. I was never a prick, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. I could have done a better job, is what I'm saying. And, but teaching him, it's taking the time. It's being patient, and that's not one of my strong suits by any means, but it's especially when somebody's in your equipment. And that's the nice thing about Johnny is he is not hard on anything and he's respectful. He doesn't tear up my shit. And in the beginning, it was he's a little bit slow, but that's to be expected. You're learning, and he's being careful because he's trying not to tear up my iron. So I think it just comes down to patience and respect.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to go over and be like, hey bud, I see you're doing this. Why don't we tweak this a little bit? And it could improve your cycle time. It could, the position of the machine could give you a better angle of attack. There's so many fucking tricks. You just, like I said, it's been, I don't know, 5, 6 years now, and I think I mean, it took about two and a half, and then you start out laboring, and that's how I started out, is just watching. When you see a guy in the seat that knows what he's doing, you're going to try and mimic that. So I think that's how you got to start. A lot of these guys that are getting in the game, they want to just hop straight in a piece of iron. It's like, I don't think so, buckwheat. You got some learning
Right.
to do. So get in the fucking ditch, hold your shovel, put a smile on your face, and learn something from these motherfuckers that know what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to start.
How
That's
long did you make Johnny
period.
do that before you put him in a piece of iron?
I didn't have a set time. I started putting them in the equipment fairly early, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of a control freak. I used to be anyway. I'm working on that. So, I put them in the equipment, let them do some jobs, get a feel for it, you know, moving dirt here and there, just the beginning shit. And I just put him wherever I needed him at the time. Sometimes I needed him in the ditch. Sometimes I needed him in the skid steer moving dirt. It just depends on the day. There was no set
Mm-hmm.
time. You got
Yeah.
somebody that's got a good attitude. It's like, hey, go hop in and let's figure this out.
Yeah. Did that ever
So,
get frustrating in the beginning? Because that's another thing I see is these guys, they'll start getting these new guys in equipment, but then
mhm.
after 20 minutes of it, it's, oh, fuck, I could have been done with this and it's going to take them 2 hours and I could have already done it in 15. And, and then they throw them out and then they go do it. And
Yeah,
then they don't want them back in
I
equipment because they're slow. It's like, dude, got to give them time.
I used to do that. I was so guilty of that because dude, my patience level is like nil. And yeah, no, I've done that many times, and it's not a good thing to do because it kills their confidence. I mean, if he's a solid man, he's going to be like, okay, I get it, but it's still deep down, you're like, fuck, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody come yank you out of the seat, but it's a balance. I mean, they got to understand you're there to make some fucking money, and sometimes you've got a little bit more leeway on time. Sometimes you don't. So um, I fucked up there in the beginning, absolutely. And sometimes I'll still swap out because at the end of the day, I mean, I I've been doing it longer.
Mm-hmm.
I get seat time. It all comes down to seat time.
Yeah.
So it's not that he does a bad job by any means. He does a fucking great job, but I can still put it down a little quicker. And if say I did something tight, or we got another fucking job to get to, it's timelines.
Right.
There's a bunch of different reasons it could be, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's not often, but it definitely happened in the beginning for sure.
Yeah. I see that a
So,
lot. And it's like, man, you just got to give them. And I mean, look, I get it too. Whenever you're on a tight job or timelines, you can't always afford to train somebody in that situation or give them the
hmm
experience that they need in that situation. But then that's just where you got to make sure they understand that, hey, man, it's tight right now. We got to get this done. I'm just going to do it. And then,
yeah.
it's no knock on you.
Well, but that's okay too because that's a time where you tell them like, hey, go over there. I want you to watch what I'm doing
Hmm.
because there's the right way to move dirt, and then there's 5,000 other fucking ways to move dirt.
Yep.
The right way to move it is the least amount of times. So you want to explain, hey, this is where I'm going to start. This is why I'm going to start here. I'm going to work my way this way. For if you're saying you're balancing or you're starting to dig, I don't care what the fuck you're doing. There's always a good place to start and a stupid place to start.
Right.
Sometimes, it just depends on the situation. So explaining that and then going and doing it, and then they can see how you do it. Like, even though you pulled them out of the seat, you can still use it as a learning experience.
Yeah. And I think that whenever you're in that situation, because I mean, the situations happen all the time. I think that that's where communication's right. Because if you
hmm
just go up to that guy and you're like, hey, get out, I'm going to do this, then they're
Yeah,
going to
that.
think like, oh, I was doing a shitty job. Okay, screw you. But if
hmm
if you explain it like that and just say, hey, I want you to watch me because we're going to do this a little differently, or just watch and learn kind of thing. Here's
hmm
why. That guy's going to have a smile on his face and he's going to go, okay, cool. Next time I'm going to do that.
Yeah, just walk up, when the door opens, like, hey, buddy, let me hop in there real quick. I want to show you how we're going to do this. It's just like I said, it's respect. All this shit comes down to respect, and that's, you know, what we were talking about earlier with men and the new guys in the industry. It's that's the quality of a man, and that's an important quality of a man, and that's where guys like me need to work on having that patience to give that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And these youngsters need to understand that even though you got your fucking feelings hurt, you're still being respected because that guy's talking to you a hell of a lot better than we were ever fucking talked to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my boss never told me shit from Shiola when I first started. It was
Right.
like, just go do this. And you're like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you come rip your ass because you cut 6 inches too low or something, just dumb shit. It's like, well, you didn't tell me that. You don't fucking tell me anything. You want me a fucking mind reader. So it just comes down to respect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's man, that's a hell of a lesson right there. Just respect everybody.
Well, that guy's getting out of bed every morning, putting his boots on and coming in and putting in a hard day's work. That's respect right there. He's not calling in on you. He's not playing games. He's not telling you, "Oh, I got the fucking brown bottle flu," or "My old lady's sick and I got to watch the kids." It's like, no, motherfucker. In this game, we show up every day. Sure, there's some times where absolutely stay home and take care of your shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know all the games people play in the workforce.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I don't care what industry you're in. You could be folding fucking clothes at Macy's, and you still got some asshole giving you some stupid excuses.
I've heard.
Well,
I always think I've heard them all, but I don't think I have. There's always new
no,
ones.
yeah. Well, especially guys with substance abuse problems and all this shit. I
Mhm.
mean, I heard something the other day. I can't even remember what it was. I'm like, damn, that was creative. Like, that's not even believable, but good job trying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what the paving? How long have you been doing the paving?
I've been doing it around 5, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah, you get pretty fucking hot out there. What's the temperatures get out there?
Yeah, it gets hot in the summer. It'll get up to 110.
Ooh, shit.
Yeah,
You
with
guys,
high
you guys
humidity.
do most of it
Normally,
at night?
no.
Whew.
We no, since I've been in the business, people around here really don't do much night paving unless it's a real busy area. In the
Mm-hmm.
big cities they will, but for the most part, Oklahoma's all rural towns connected by highways, so not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of night paving.
Hmm. Now, see, that takes some grit too, and that's probably an industry that's gonna take a hurting because I mean, I'd like to think of myself as a pretty tough motherfucker, but going out and paving when it's 100 degrees out, I mean, that fucking blacktop's like what, 140, you reckon?
It's like
Feels like
300.
140. Well, no, I'm just saying the ambient temperature feels like it's about 140.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It depends where you're at for sure. If you're up on top of a machine, if you're by the trucks that are dumping, but yeah, it's hot. It's
You
probably
got to be a
around
hard,
140, 150.
yeah, you got to be a hard motherfucker to go do that. And think about all these trades that you do got to be a hard motherfucker for.
Mm-hmm.
And these young bucks coming up, man, it's I don't know how much of a workforce we're going to have. It all comes back to being a man, and that's where we got to start. We got to start changing things around here, or else it's going to be great for guys like you and me, because there's going to be so few of us that we can charge whatever we want, and then the country's going to fall apart as soon as all of us retire, because there ain't going to be anybody to do our shit.
Well, that's where guys like you and me and everybody who listens to this show, because everyone I've talked to that listens to this show is a just fucking killer. But
Hmm.
that's where we have to step up too and take some of these younger kids, younger guys under our wings and say, "All right, man, this is how you got to be a man." Because
Hmm.
we've all been weak men at some point in our life. We've all gone
Hmm.
through ruts. We've all
Yep.
done stupid shit or let ourselves get out of hand. And we've all had issues. And that's where it takes us to step up and help these people get through that to where they can become killers. And some people you can't help, but the ones that you can, the ones that want to be helped,
Hmm.
that's where we've got to step up and make sure they're being taken care of and they have a good example, role model, mentor in their life.
Oh, 100%. And, I was going to tell you, I love that you're doing this podcast and letting guys come on here and keep it real, because that's one of the problems. I mean, especially since we got social media, everything's just bullshit. And I mean, fuck, I get on my social media, I get censored all the time because it's apparently it's blasphemy what comes out of my mouth. But Yeah, I wanted to tell you thank you for what you're doing, letting guys come on here and keep it real. And people that aren't familiar with the industry, I mean, chances are they're not going to be scrolling through looking for a construction podcast, but somebody's wife might be listening to it with the husband and they tell oh, this was really good. I really like what this guy had to hear. It might start branching off into a different demographic, and we can start getting a message out to these people because guys that are listening to this, they're probably already good hard motherfuckers that put on their boots every day at 4 a.m. and roll out and get her done.
Yeah.
We need to be getting this. I mean, they already know it. We need to be talking to people that don't do this kind of thing about how
Yeah.
important it is. They need to be raising men because, I mean, I look at my friends' kids and it's like some of them, they're going to be gangster. Other of them, it's like, but I don't know if we can be friends anymore. You're fucking raising little fairies. So it's important to be raising our boys right and having men in the picture and being good fathers. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we get out of bed and do this shit every day. It's for our family. I don't fucking do it for fun. This ain't for fun anymore. This is for real.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to remember why we're doing this and who are who the next generation is going to be that's going to be doing this and teach them to love it too.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a hard motherfucker to be out doing the trades every day and to be
Mm-hmm.
good at it and to be respected. You got to be on top of your game. And that's the kind of men I want around me. That's the kind of men I want to raise. And that's people I want, see coming up because that's back when things were better, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I got 10 years on you, but you've been around long enough to see how things have changed. It's getting goofy out there.
Yeah. Well, and what I see and where I think a lot of the weak men come from is a lot of guys don't have a strong male role model in their life. I'm lucky.
Exactly.
I had, I don't come from a single family home. My parents are still together. Now, has it always been sunshine and rainbows? Hell no.
Mm-mm.
And, my family's gone through some struggles, but I've watched my dad hustle hard, go from nothing to building a good sized business.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he's not in the trades at all. He's a lawyer, but
Mm-hmm.
he, I've watched him go for it, and he's a mentor in my life. I've had several men in my life who have taken me under their wing, and I still have some that do. A lot of kids nowadays, they're raised by a single mom because their dad knocked her up and then said sayonara, or
Yep.
he stuck around and he's just an absolute piece of shit. He can't keep a job. He's an alcoholic. He treats his kids like absolute shit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't Men don't step up and raise their kids. They're lazy. And it's not just men, but I mean, it's here's an iPad. Raise
Oh
yourself.
fuck.
Quit
I know.
crying. It just
I
pacify
know.
it because they're too lazy to deal with it. And that's what's killing these
Well.
kids. So these kids come up and then they've never been made to get a job. They've just been spoiled their whole life just to get them to shut the hell up because their
Mm-hmm.
parents don't want to deal with them. And then they come into the workforce and they're just absolutely useless. Well, I don't want to do this. They've never had to struggle. They've never been hungry. They've never
Mm-hmm.
been told, hey man, you need to pay for this. And so they do something they don't like, and then they don't give a shit. They still got a roof over their head and food on the table, whether they work or not.
Dude, you nailed it. You nailed it. When you're talking about, I mean, it all boils down to the men because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's our job to be leaders. It's our job to provide for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And, it falls on the women a little bit, but it's, there's so many things that have contributed to this. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of this ain't work related, but it all comes down to family. And as a man, you're talking about substance abuse problems. I mean, you know how many guys in the fucking trades have, I mean, I used to be a fucking heroin addict. I was homeless. My fucking family disowned me. So when I tell you that I've got no fucking tolerance for it, I've been there.
Wow.
And the drinking in this country, especially in our trades, that's the fucking problem. These guys go, they bust their ass all day. Sure, they're providing for their family, but then they go to the fucking bar or they stop off at the fucking gas station and get a 12 pack and then go home and drink. And I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this, but I don't fucking care because it is a problem. If you're out there doing that shit, you're not taking care of your responsibilities at home. You're going out, you're checking out. And the reason I'm saying I used to do it with my fucking cell phone. I pissed my wife off all the time with it because I wasn't engaged in the family.
Yep.
And the problem is you're going to work all day, you're fucking stressed out. You're dealing with so much. I mean, especially as an owner or foreman, I don't care what the fuck you do. I don't care if you're a laborer. Like you're dealing with the shit. Like it's 100 degrees out and you're shoveling or whatever it might be. So we deal with this bullshit all day. And by the time the day's over, you're like, fuck, I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the women, they don't understand because they've never been in the game. They don't understand what we go through. And so I'm not making excuses for going and getting the booze, but um, it's it comes down to communication, and my wife's really been good at that, teaching me that because I sucked at it. I didn't see a lot of things, and taking the time to get a woman's perspective on that and understand it is great. But then you have to learn how to apply it in a masculine way to where it's beneficial to the family. And I think we've had such a stigma growing up. I was brought up old school, and men didn't talk about their feelings. They didn't fucking cry. They didn't do that shit. I still like you talk to your boys about it. Like your close homies. You got a fucking problem? Talk to them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, or talk to your wife or somebody close to you that you respect. You don't go fucking spill your shit to everybody. You still handle it like a man. But when we were, was you talk when I was taught you don't talk about your feelings and shit. That was very detrimental to a few generations
Yeah, several.
because now we have a problem with men's mental health, and it's trickling into everything else, and that's what's fucking up the family unit and our kids. So I mean, there's so many different things that have to be addressed, but my main point was the substance abuse. It's you go home and you check out from everything. They haven't seen you all day. Yeah, you might be burnt out, but that's not fair to your family when you're checking out. And the
Yeah.
only reason I say that is because I know I used to do it, and we have to be better than that. We can't, I was doing it with social media. And I was so involved with politics and all the bullshit going on, the fucking COVID and the fucking politicians and just all the nonsense. You're like, dude, you're fucking off our entire way of life. And I was pissed about it. I was really pissed about it. And I wanted to change it. I'm not a big people person, but I think everybody should have the opportunity to have a great life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're slowly taking that away from everybody. So the daily stressors and shit, I mean, and they don't talk about the numbers. I mean, I don't really know what the numbers are, or the guys in our industry that have the abuse problems. It's, I
It's
don't
hard to
know. It's
track,
just,
obviously, but it's a lot.
hmm
Pills,
it's hard to watch.
alcohol, everything. Yeah.
Hmm
And it's like you're saying, you go home, and this has been a problem for a long time. Guys go home and they're burnt out. They don't want to listen to a screaming kid or nagging wife. So what do? It's just, I've been working all goddamn day, and then they go sit in the recliner and watch TV and then drink. And anymore, those moms are working too, most of them,
Yeah.
and so they've had just as hard of a day as you have. It's just different, and you're not being present for your family, and your kids see
hmm
that, your mom sees that, and you're not. And I said your mom, your wife. You're not
I get what you're
being there
saying.
for them, and you have to be. And
Yeah.
whenever you hide behind substance, and it's not just substances, man. I mean, I've done it too. I mean, like I told you before we started, I've only been married a few months. Well, the first 2 weeks of being married, before, because we didn't live together before we got married, uh, I'd come home and just do my usual routine. I'd go
hmm
to my regular job, and then I'd come home and I'd be working on dirty and driven stuff, or uh, my other side project stuff. I'd do that till 10 o'clock at night, and then I'd go to bed. Well, it was like, holy shit. It's like I don't even have a husband here. You just come home and then you fuck off on all this stuff, doing more work.
hmm
This isn't how it's supposed to be.
No, and that's what I wasn't realizing. I mean, my dumb ass was like, "Well, fuck, I provide for you. You got a good life." But that's not enough. You signed up for this. I mean, just like you signed up for work, you go and put your fucking boots on every day and show up. You got to do that at home too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't just provide and call it good enough. And like I said, I was fucking up there big time.
Yeah.
So you
Love to
gotta
your family is spelled Time.
100%, 100%. Yeah, and that's where you know, the guys that are going out and breaking their dicks off every day doing this kind of work have to realize like you signed up for this family just as much as you signed up for this fucking job.
Yeah.
So put as much pride, you should be putting more pride in your family than you put in your work. And
Yeah.
I got to remind myself, because at the end of the day, you are burnt. But you know what? You can do. I was talking to Ryan, Rock Structures, the other day. That motherfucker's gangster. Um, he's like, dude, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And I haven't heard somebody say that in I don't know how long. And it's true. If you might be tired, you might be wore out, but you tell yourself you can do it, you fucking do it. If you want to be a little bitch about it and tell yourself you can't, you can't. And that's, that's one thing I was teaching our little girl. This saying, it's whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm. I love that saying. It's one of my favorite
So,
sayings.
yeah, it's a good one. And not enough people have that mindset. But I think that's up to the guys that have it to teach that. It's teaching has gone to the wayside. All this, I mean, our entire country has been transformed. It used to be that way, and then that prick Rockefeller gets in there. He says, it's like, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's become. Nobody knows how to think anymore. Nobody knows how to communicate anymore. It's just, there's so many things that are fucked up that we as individuals have to work on. And it's not just the trades, it's all the way across the board. I don't care what you do. We can all do better. We have turned into lazy little cunts that want instant gratification constantly. And it's pathetic. And now it's trickling onto the kids because they see that and they're not being engaged with. And then you're getting put on the fucking iPad. Like you said, that's about the most lazy, disgusting shit I've seen in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
yeah,
I
and
mean,
then they don't know how to take an ass ripping whenever it happens, or even just minor criticisms. A lot
oh,
of kids
dude,
don't
they
know how to take
break.
minor criticisms because you tell them, "Hey, you could be doing this better." Well, they want to talk back because they were never disciplined. Again, weak
Hmm.
men, it was just, well, go do this, just shut up, get out of my way. They weren't taught, hey, you're going to be punished for this.
Hmm.
And so whenever
Well,
they fuck up at work and you get on to them about it, even if you're not yelling at them and ripping their ass, you're just like, hey, you can't do that way, blah, blah, blah. A
mhm.
lot of these people, and again, there's a lot of good young kids out there. I'm not ripping on a whole generation here, but just the ones that are like
No,
this, they're they don't know how to take it and they shut down. They get mad. Oh, he's such an asshole. And no, dude, you just don't know how to take that.
dude, if I had $1 for every time I'd be called an asshole, we probably wouldn't be on this podcast, homie. I'd be doing something else. Um, dude, you're 100% right. Uh, you can't even, well, it's just people being soft. You can't have a conversation with somebody without them getting their butt hurt.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the fathers, us as men, we've been talking about boys this whole time, but even girls. It is so fucking important for a little girl to have her father around for so many reasons. But for her to see a man's perspective, understand what they go through, yada, yada, yada. So when she gets older, she has her husband, because as men, we're pretty fucking, we've got our blinders on a lot of the time. We're
Mm-hmm.
narrowly focused on what we got going on, and women look at things so much differently. And we're ruining our youth on both sides, because the women need to understand, you know, like I said, the shit that we go through and how to deal with that, because it's a woman's job to reel a man back to reality. And if you don't have a good woman by your side that can to check you and say, "Hey, motherfucker, we got to switch gears here. Yeah, you're doing great here, but you're lacking big time over here. I love you, but I need you to fix that." You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's that's a pretty simple way to deal with a man like us. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I ain't mad at you, but we need to fucking step up here, and that's okay to say. But now these women, they're so fucked up, they don't know how to do that. And just like I watch it
And
all the
most of
time
them
with my
haven't had
buddies,
father figures in their lives.
100%, it all comes back to the man. We are the problem in this country. I don't
Yeah.
care what the fucking problem is. We created it. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit what color your fucking skin is, what you like to do on the weekends. I don't fucking care. It's time to man up and it's time to take care of business, because if we don't, I mean, we are the last chance.
Yeah.
If we don't unfuck this, it's game over.
Well, and I don't say that because, and I don't want any women that listen to this because we have a bigger women demographic than I would have ever thought, which is amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm not ragging on women here, man. I've said this several
No.
times. Women they're not the problem. That's why we're
No.
not talking about them here. They are strong. And dude, I am so appreciative of the women in my life, whether it be my wife, who's an absolute badass of a woman, my mom,
Hmm.
who's the same way, and the women I work with. There's so many people that keep me grounded and keep me in reality. The women are in a lot better shape, but still this next generation of women, it's the same issue with the next generation of men. They haven't had a father figure, a strong male figure in their life. They've been
Hmm.
manipulated, they've been abandoned. I mean,
Hmm.
they're fucked up, dude, because the men have let them down.
Period. I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
Period.
It takes two to tango, and it takes a man and a woman. I mean, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but I am a Christian and I believe in the Bible. It says that the nuclear family is a man and a woman, and it takes both those perspectives to truly shape a person. Now, not saying that a person can't be a killer with a single mom or a single dad, but to have both sides of the perspective is what you need, because men and women are so different.
I think your chances of raising a killer as a single man are much greater than your chances of doing it as a woman. And the fucked up part is all these women that have to be single mothers because they got to be mom and they got to be dad. And women aren't designed to do that shit. They are
Mhm.
designed to be nurturing, loving, caring, and we are designed to be what we are because we are not what they are. They're good
Mhm.
at it. I mean, we can be okay at it, but we weren't designed that way.
Right.
And God damn it, what was my fucking point with that one? Oh, the raising kids. Yeah, these moms, they weren't designed that way. So being a father too, that is the most foreign fucking concept that you could make a woman do, and it's disgusting.
Hmm.
I've seen so much of it, and the kids turn out fucked up because the mom's stressed. I mean, raising kids is hard enough with two parents right now. Shit's
Hmm.
expensive, the world's fucked up, and then on top of that, you got to do it by yourself, and you got to do something that you're not designed to do. You don't even understand,
Hmm.
and I mean, you can't even blame them for it. They're not geared for it. It's not what they were put here for. So it's the chances of a woman raising a man right, that is slim to none, my dude.
Yeah, and it sucks
So,
because a lot of those women, they're doing the right thing, because a lot of times it's their kids had a shitty father, and
hmm.
they
Hmm.
separated their kids from that, which is great and it's noble. But
Yep.
man, it's a tough world.
Well, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. Like
Hmm.
you got to commend them for having the courage to step out and get their kids out of a shitty situation. But then after she does that, like it's like the fucking jungle out there as a single mother. That's tough.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't even imagine. I think I'm fucking hard. Them girls, they got some go,
yeah, they
and you
do.
got to give it up to them. But you can only do so much as a human being. It
Hmm.
takes, like you said, it takes both. You
It
need a
does.
man and a woman to raise children correctly.
Yeah,
So.
and all that point is just to say is, men got to step it up, because the women, that I think that most women want what's best for their family all the time, and I think that a lot of men look at what's best for me, and it's, oh shit, I got you pregnant. Well, that's your problem.
Yeah, the well, like it all comes back to how you raise the accountability. I mean, you
Yeah.
do that as a man, it's time to step up, whether that was some one night stand or, some heifer you don't want to be with.
Hmm.
That's tough shit, buddy. You made that decision. You need to fucking make it right as a man.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you got to be with somebody, but you better make goddamn sure you're involved and that child uh, has all the proper tools to come up.
Yeah. And if you are a single mom, or even a dude, even if you are both together, man, there's nothing wrong with getting your kids, male or female, around strong mentors that know more than you. That's what my parents did.
100%.
My parents, like my favorite things is, like, I go hunting. That's one of my favorite things. I play music. That's one of my favorite things. And I work in construction. Those are
Hmm.
three things that my parents knew absolutely zero about. They,
Hmm.
not even a clue, but they surrounded me whenever they saw that those were my interests. They got me plugged in with people who had experience and know how and resources to get me plugged into those things.
You make a great point. And I just thought of, even if you are a single mom or a single dad, listen to this shit, and you're not in the game, but your kid likes it, go for, I'm sure you know somebody that's in the game. Like,
Yeah.
I got a buddy in Reno that's a banker, and he'll tell you he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He don't even know which end of the fucking screwdriver to use, but he knows me. So if his kids end up like, absolutely, homie, bring him on down. We'll show him
Mm-hmm.
what's up. You like, you know somebody that's a good influence or can teach them something.
Yeah.
So there's no excuses anymore. You just need to be a little bit more creative and have the willingness and drive to put in that extra effort for your kid. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you having a kid if you're not going to fucking put in the effort?
Yeah. My
That's
mom,
shitty behavior.
she would even make me, if she had like somebody come to the house do work, an electrician, a plumber or something, she wouldn't necessarily, introduce me or, hey, she would just tell me, she'd be like, you're going to stand over this guy's shoulder and you're going to watch him do what he's doing. I'm like, why?
Good
I
for
don't want to
her.
be an electrician or a plumber. She's like, I don't care. You're going to watch and you're going to learn
Hmm.
what he's doing.
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. I mean, my kids, they're actually my stepkids, but it doesn't matter. You still put in that effort like they're your own children. You still got to love them like they're you. Ah, fuck, they are your own children.
Yeah.
And taking that effort, I wasn't around for the first couple of years, so I've had some catching up to do as a parent
Mm-hmm.
and learning, and like I said, I fell short there too, man. We fall short everywhere, and we're going to as humans, but you got to recognize that and move forward. And, I got to do better. So now I grab the boy, like, hey, you're going to go watch me change this fucking tire, or you're going to watch me change the oil, or we're going to go fix this, whatever the fuck it might be. You might not want to, you might be in a hurry, but you know what? You got to quit being selfish and take the time to go show that kid what's up, or else how are they going to fucking know?
Mm-hmm.
You asked me to go build a missile. I don't know the first thing about building a fucking missile. You got to show me. Anybody's got to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, like I said, it all boils back to being a man and manning the fuck up and handling your shit.
Yeah.
You might not want to do something. You might not want to show up to work every day, but you do. So you might not want to do something else at home, but guess what? It's time to show up.
Dude, life is never going to all be sunshine, rainbows, gravy. It's even if you have, like, I was talking to somebody at a really badass company, really badass office, really badass, job he had. And he goes, yeah, dude, I love my job. But he goes, it's still a job. He
Hmm.
goes, I don't always want to be here. I don't always want to do this, but I have to.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, it's great most of the time. And I think that that's how it is in the trades. I think that's how it is as a parent or as a husband or anything you're involved with. You don't always want to do it, and it's not always great. And you're going to face challenges and adversity, but those are what make you. It's not. I heard something the other day that really made me think. Somebody said, some people say life's not fair. Life is fair. We all get just absolutely railed by things all the time. But what makes life quote unquote fair or unfair is how you handle getting that railing. Do you shut
Hmm.
down and harm yourself, harm your family and run away and quit, or do you rise to the occasion and make a absolute champion out of that bad situation?
I agree 100%. It's all a matter of perspective.
Mhm.
If your perspective is, oh, the world's out to get me, then everything's going to be a fucking disaster. If it's, hey, how do I make this thing my bitch? Then things are going to go a lot different.
Yeah.
So it is all a matter of perspective. And everything we're talking about is everything a man needs to have in his toolbox.
Yeah.
So it all boils. I mean, fuck, the more we talk, it's like the more disgusted I am with fucking men.
Yeah,
It's,
dude. I get hot on it all the time. And I tell people this in person, face to face. And I mean, I've even told some dudes, man, you just got to step it up. And I've told myself that recently. I look in the mirror all the time and I'm like, dude, am I being the man that I need to be for my family?
mm-hmm,
Whether it be my wife or my little brother or my parents, am I being, am I driving and being that leader? And it's hard to be that leader, that mentor, everything. Again, it's not easy. It's like my brother's 10 years younger than me. He's 15 years old right now. And
mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just at that age where he's just a frustrating human being because he's 15 years old. Him and I have always been close, but and I've always been kind of hard on him, probably too hard on him. But
Nah.
I want him to be a killer, and I think he
Yeah.
will be. He's because he's like 15 going on like 65. I mean, you talk about a smart young kid, but
Good.
he kind of just lost my train of thought there. But yeah, you just got to look in the mirror and say, am I being what I am for those people? And oh, that's what I was getting at. You know, being a mentor to him is hard because there's times where you're like, hey, do this. This is a lesson that I learned. It's very important, blah, 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 blah. And he doesn't always want to hear it. And people don't always want you to help them. People don't always want to absorb your mentorship, kind of like an old coach that you had in high school. You know, they might yell at you and make you run wind sprints and punish you and tell you need to do this or that. But, and at the time you're like, this is freaking stupid. I don't want to do this. And then years later you go, dang, dude, I still have that skill and that discipline from that asshole.
Oh, dude, I look at guys that were, I used to think my dad was the biggest prick I ever met, but I was being a little bitch at the time, and he didn't like it. And you can't see past your nose at that age. You
Yeah.
think, oh, it was, he's fucking mean or whatever. It's like, nah, bud, you just got some fixing to do, and the guy's trying to help you, and it's how you perceive that information is how you're going to come out on the other end. And you were saying, oh fuck, lost my train of thought too. I got so many different things going through my head about this. It's just,
I know.
I don't know. I'm pretty passionate about this because it's our life. It's everybody's life,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how to navigate these things, it's tough. Everything it's constantly evolving. You're talking about mentorship and how hard it is to mentor somebody, and it is because what might be right, what you think is right one day, and you're teaching somebody, and then you learn, a week later, it's like, oh shit, I could do this better, and it's like, oh man, I could have taught him better. It's, life. It's not a set point. It's a moving target,
Yeah.
and knowing how to roll with that and be solid for everybody. It's a difficult thing. Men go through a lot, and people don't really talk about that. And I think this kind of thing, these kind of conversations, are going to be what turns that shit around.
I agree.
Because all these other people doing podcasts and trying to keep it PC, and fuck you, man. That ain't real life. That
Yeah.
is not real life. This shit, this conversation, that's real life.
Yeah.
And
Dude.
nobody's keeping it real.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my whole thing, dude, is this is a blue collar podcast. Yeah. I want to bring people to the construction world. I want to bring people to the trades, but I want to hear truly from the guys in the industry what real life is like. Not
Hmm.
not just in the industry. I mean, I want to highlight the industry. I want to tell stories. I want to educate people, expose people to the cool shit that we do because it is cool. But
Yeah.
I also want to say this is real life. It's not sunshine and rainbows. It's not, everybody gets a trophy, cushiony, lovey-dovey. I mean, even the companies that are out there that have the greatest culture in the world, dude, they work hard and they grind hard. They sweat. And
Hmm.
like I'm passionate about this too, just what you're saying, keeping it real. I'm helping out an organization with workforce development stuff, and we're talking about okay, video, social media, this, that, the other, and there was one person in there that goes, "Well, we really need to show it and show the equipment and show the people, but like, we don't necessarily want to show them like wiping the sweat off their eye out of their eyes and them being
What?
covered in mud like that. We just want." I'm like, that's not real though. I
Uh-uh.
said, dude, go out on a freaking pipe crew. That dude's sweaty. It's 100 degrees outside with 80% humidity, so it feels like a sauna inside that trench. And
Hmm.
I said that dude's wiping sweat. He's muddy as hell. And I mean, whenever I was down in a trench like that, dude, I fucking loved it. I was proud of how dirty I was at the end of the day. I was like, hell yeah, I put in a hard day's work here. I want to show
Hmm.
the real picture. And I want to hear from guys like you and guys like, fucking Brian, that old Smallsy. I mean,
Oh, dude, that
I love
motherfucker.
hearing his stories about freaking strippers and getting lost in Vegas. Like, that's just him.
That is one of the most genuine motherfuckers you will ever come across. I
Yeah.
mean, the more I love that motherfucker, the more I get to know him. He's real. He's
Yeah.
he's a real one.
And most of the guys in this industry are. And that's what I love about this industry. Like, my job is more of project management role, estimator role. I hang out with both sides of people. I hang out with the business people and I hang out
Mm-hmm.
with the blue collar people. And
Yep.
dude, the blue collar people are where I want to be. Like going to a fucking country club party with a bunch of pretentious people. Now there's some smart people in that room and there's some killers
Mm-hmm.
in business and there are people who get it that are real, genuine people. And then there's people that are so full of themselves that they can't even walk through the door. Their head's so big.
Mm-hmm.
And the blue collar people, you walk out there, they don't care who you are. They don't care if you own the company. They don't care if you're a peon. They're going to make fun of you the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you want I mean, you want somebody to come up and bust your balls. They're testing you as a man. They're seeing how you are. They're poking you a little bit, and how you respond to that is how you're going to be viewed by the rest of the fucking crew, and that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And guys like Brian will definitely fucking put you in your place if you're not in the right spot.
Yeah.
So it's no, I agree 100%. It's you talking about the pretentious party or whatever. You don't know which one of those motherfuckers are being real with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between people like that and people like us is you don't have to wonder. You know one way or the other. Yeah, that guy likes me or nope. I mean, there's no question about it. And those are
Yeah.
the kind of people I want to be around. I don't want to wonder. I don't want to guess. I don't want to try and be a mind reader. I want some real motherfuckers. Be real with me one way or the other. You don't like me? Cool. I can respect that. We're homies? Awesome. That's good too.
Yeah.
Just be fucking real. And that's the problem. I was thinking about this with your podcast and all these other podcasts. They don't keep it real, man. They bring these big fancy companies on, their CEO or whatever, or, all these guys that are trying to keep it PC on the fucking internet, and they're not real about it
Yeah.
because you know better. Nobody's perfect, especially in this game. Like we're all a little bit rough around the edges, and you see these guys going on here. They're not cussing. They're just, blah blah blah, straight and narrow. It's like this ain't real, man. Come on,
Yeah.
like let's be real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody wants to keep it real anymore.
And how do we solve the problems if we don't talk about them? I mean, even if we came
Hmm.
on here and this is a construction podcast and all we did was talk about excavation and laying pipe and how you built your business and stuff, that's cool shit. And I want people to hear that too, because
Yeah,
somebody else might be in the same shoes and say, okay, I can emulate what this guy did. But
yeah.
also, it's important to hear from guys like you and they go, shit, I got those same problems.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I mean, anybody can go to work and have, their fucking pipe didn't go together worth a shit, or their fucking, their ground was crap and sloughing in on them. And we all deal with that. But I think these are the things that people don't talk about enough. And this is what
Mhm.
can make everybody better the fastest. I
Yeah.
mean, we start fixing these couple little things, you see how quick shit's going to turn around. I mean, I've seen how quick it's turned around in my life when I pull my head out of my ass. And it's okay. We all have our head up our ass sometimes, but it's what we do when that happens and how we address the issue
Yeah.
is what matters. So,
Absolutely. Well, man, let's end on a little lighter heart note here.
yeah,
What do you do? What do you do for fun outside of work, outside of everything going on?
I'm pretty outdoorsy. I mean, my wife and I, we just outside, man. If we can get out in the mountains, go fishing, go hiking, go camping, we just try to get away from people.
Yeah, I heard
If I'm
that.
being honest. But that's another thing. We've been so disconnected from things that matter, things that this is going to sound like some hippie bullshit, but I don't care. You go out in the fucking hills and you go sit down next to a stream with a fucking, lean up against a tree and watch the water go by. Sit there for 30 minutes. You're going to feel way better at the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
And you're going to feel way better for a lot of reasons. And some of them are scientific, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But we've, I try to get back to what, uh, what matters in life. I mean,
hmm
the beauty in nature and being with your loved ones. And I mean, we don't shit. Like I said, I was a junkie back in the day, so I don't really drinking was never my thing. But I don't drink and do that shit. I mean, it's more about getting reconnected with yourself and you know the planet we're on. So it's that's where we find our happiness, going out and rock crawling, hiking, camp, all that shit, doing things with kids. It's that's where we focus on things for fun.
yeah. What's like a
Shooting.
you go ride your razor around?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's we got more dirt roads here than we have paved roads here,
Hmm.
so that's a no-brainer for me. And then yeah, yeah, side by side, and what else? Shooting. Do a lot of shooting. Well, I haven't done it in a minute because I've been so fucking busy, but yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of shit.
yeah, just cool stuff like that. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
getting connected to the earth is always great. I can go on some hippy dippy bullshit about that, but I'll
Well,
leave
that's
that for
another
another time.
stigma that's been fucked up is everybody, hippie tree hugger shit. Like, dude, I am in a lot of ways, and
Yeah,
I
me
wasn't
too.
before, but my wife, like I said, you got to have a good woman to give you some different perspective on things.
Yeah,
And I promise you, you go find a fucking tree in a stream and sit down for 30 minutes, you're going to feel better. And if
yeah,
you don't, you're a liar.
yeah, dude. Research. Anybody out there who wants to learn about that, dude? Research just grounding. I mean, that's
Oh,
really great.
yeah.
Connecting to the
Yeah.
earth physically.
Well, and then the food we eat, I mean, everything's fucking poisoned.
Yeah,
Everything. And
yeah.
I'm not going to go off on that, but there are so many things that are contributing to the factors and the problems that we have. So it's that's that's where I've been trying to change my life and been finding my happiness in my downtime, getting more in touch with myself and the family and doing those kind of things because that's I've I've done a lot of things to try to fill that void inside me,
Hmm.
and I did it with drugs for a long fucking time, and it will never fill that void,
How
never.
old were you when you were on drugs?
Mm, fuck, what would I think I started when I was 15.
Wow. The
Yeah,
heavy stuff or just like smoking dope?
um, no, it started out. I was never really into weed. It just started out taking painkillers, and then it started. It rolls into taking the bigger painkillers, and then that gets so expensive. Then you're off to heroin, and you're smoking it, and then you're shooting it, and it's fuck. I did that for how old was I when I quit? I don't know. I think I was on hard opiates for a solid 10 years, and you're doing coke and shit like that too. And it was just, I mean, fuck, right now, I'm in pretty good shape right now for me anyway. I think I'm sitting at 210. I was all the way down to 140 when I was at my worst.
Wow.
And I was living in a fucking trailer in a warehouse in Mound House, which Mound House is where all the whorehouses are. You see that show Cat House?
I haven't.
So that's, no, you
No.
never saw that? Like, I'm not saying you saw it, but it was on HBO or whatever back in the day. Anyway, Mound House is our industrial area around here. So yeah, my family disowned me, and and rightly so. I mean, I'd fucked them over so many times. Like, I'd have kicked me to the curb long before they did.
Yeah.
Um, and I was trying to figure my shit out and broke and didn't have nobody. And that's that's when you figure it out.
Hmm.
So
So
yeah,
what made
that's
you? I mean, what did you do to quit that? I mean, because
well,
you don't just put it down after 10 years.
no, no, and I've got a lot of different views on recovery and getting your shit together. But I did methadone, so they have a clinic. I mean, opiates around here, they're a fucking problem. So there's a
Mhm.
couple of methadone clinics now, and I had been to rehab and shit. My family sent me to rehab twice, and I fucked that up. And but it was the methadone clinic because as somebody that's doing that kind of thing, you're trying, like I said, trying to fill that void, or you're trying to, cover that fucking wound or whatever it is. And you can't just rip that away from somebody. You can't just take somebody's vice and expect them to go fucking act right because they're doing that for a reason. They don't want to be doing it. They already fucking hate themselves for it. So how do we do that the most comfortable way? Because we're already uncomfortable. We're trying to be comfortable in our own skin. We know we're a fuck up. So how do you do that? And the best way I found was weaning off slowly, a controlled method. And I fucked that up too. I mean, I relapsed after that. I had to get back on it. But I'm at where I'm at now, and I don't regret a fucking bit of it. I mean, it sucks, but if my story can help somebody, or if I can teach somebody something, or whatever it might be, then that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I got through it. I know a lot of people don't. So those of us that did, it's time to be real about it and not be ashamed of it and keep those stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of being a man too, is owning your shit
Yeah.
and teaching somebody from those fucking experiences that you had so they don't have to go through it. Or maybe if they are going through it, help them get out of it quicker than you did. So they
Yeah.
don't have to go through all that fucking pain and heartache and rip their family apart. So it's I know you wanted to end on a lighter note, and I really screwed that one up, didn't I?
Well, I asked the question, man. I just it's important to touch on it, and maybe one day in the future, you and I can do a whole episode just on that because I mean, like we said,
Yeah.
substance and drug addiction, dude, it's such a fucking problem in our society, and
Hmm.
it's getting worse, and especially with the harder
Hmm.
stuff that's coming around. But people, and I think a lot of people view drug addiction as like what you're saying, heroin, stuff like that. But dude, so many people in the trades are addicted to prescription drugs, painkillers,
Oh.
alcohol, fucking dope. I mean, and I know some people come at me and say, you can't get addicted to weed, but dude, I know people that went a couple of years with not being sober and they just would smoke weed. They wouldn't do anything harder. They weren't doing
Hmm.
coke. I mean, maybe acid every now and then if they were to, doing something stupid and fun. But I mean, most of these, I mean, I know people that would wake up, smoke weed, and would all day long. And for them to quit doing that was hard, really hard. One of my best friends went through it.
Hmm.
And he's better now because of it, because he quit and got out of that slump. But man, he was in a bad way for a while. And so, but
Hmm.
anyways, a lot of blue collar people, they deal with that because they don't know how else to deal with the pain of life.
Well, and that's the thing, coming up, you are your habits. Whatever your habits might be, you are your habits. And I don't give a fuck what you try and say about that. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I was my habit. I was a fucking junkie. And now I've been, thankfully my wife's so fucking patient with me, but we've been friends for so long. I think just I'm lucky to have that long love because I bet she'd been done with my shit a while ago. Having somebody give you that different perspective and show you what's important in your life now. I mean, I go to the gym every morning. I stretch. I try to take that time to reflect on what's important. And I don't always hit the mark, but I try to. I try to do things that are good for me. I make an effort not to, put shit in my body that's supposed to be there. And that could be, like fucking energy drinks. The boys in our industry drink more fucking energy drinks than I don't even know what. And dude, that's just straight poison.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm this. It's like, dude, if you took care of yourself, you wouldn't be that tired.
Yeah.
I get up at fucking 4 o'clock every day and I go until fucking usually about 9.
Yeah.
It's not a terribly long day, but it's a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's where you put your mind. I got energy throughout the whole day. I mean, this is the first fucking cup of coffee I've had in I don't know how long. I don't drink coffee anymore. You don't need that shit. You take care of yourself, you don't need that
Yeah.
shit.
I drink coffee, but it's just
So,
because I like coffee.
well, I do too, and that's why I made a cup. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, I haven't had some coffee in a while. I want some coffee.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys use it for a crutch, and have three,
Yeah.
4 cups a day. And I mean, it's like, I don't know. We got to have a cultural shift and make it okay to take care of yourself. Still be a hard motherfucker, but take that time mentally, physically, and a lot of these guys don't have an outlet, and they use booze as an outlet. They have to have an outlet. Your old lady can't use that against you. Let your dude go to the fucking gym for a couple hours. Let him go trap shooting with the boys, once a week. Like a man has to have an outlet. None of these dudes have an outlet.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know you got to get going, brother. It's been great talking to you. And
Yeah,
I would
man.
be more than happy to do this again.
Yeah, dude. Let's do it. Before we get off here, I do have to ask you the staple question of what's the dirtiest job you've ever had to do?
Hmm. Well, there's the first one comes to mind. We were doing we had a septic field that failed, and it was at an old ranch house, and the main line coming out of the building, they had like a storage carport kind of thing on the backside. It was real tight digging. And I hooked the fucking line, and it was one of those shitty scenarios where it flipped up like this, and poor Rob, he was standing right in front of the firing line, man, and I fucking peppered him with that shit. So I didn't personally have to go through it, but I still feel bad to this day because, I mean, the look on his face is like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. But dirtiest job that I've had to do, dude, I don't know. Every job's fucking dirty, it seems like. I go home looking like Pigpen every day.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
Just the job you
So,
do is the dirtiest job.
some days are better than others, but it's always a dirty job. I mean, fuck, we're playing in the dirt. That's how it goes.
Yep. Dirt's dirty.
You know?
Nice, dude.
So,
Well,
yeah.
hell yeah, man. I appreciate your time, and we'll definitely do it again sometime. One of these
Yeah, I'm
days,
glad
I'll
we're
make it to your neck of the woods, and maybe we can do one in person eventually.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
That'd be
man.
cool.
Cool, dude.
Might have to come out your way. I'm not set up with that fancy microphone and all that shit.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're ever in Oklahoma, you hit me up or nearby, even within
Yeah,
the radius.
sounds
Maybe
good,
we
brother.
maybe we maybe we all meet with Brian in Colorado and get thrown out of a Applebee's or something with him.
Yeah, dude, he's a solid cat. I
Yeah.
know you've been talking to him for a while, but and that's the nice thing about this industry is the dudes in it. And I will say that's been the one good thing about social media is I've met so many solid motherfuckers
Yeah.
and guys that I consider more of a friend than dudes I've been friends with my whole life.
Yeah,
You
I've
know,
started thinking that same thing the last couple of weeks. I'm like, dude, the people that I know from social media are just solid.
it's opened up the pool, so to speak. You know, and then you find guys that are like minded, and just you find the people you click with. I'd been talking to Brian for a little bit, and and then we finally ran into each other at Con Expo, and it was like, dude, instant. Like
Hmm.
some people you just fucking gravitate towards, and dude, that motherfucker's like a brother now. He's a super solid dude. He's a savvy businessman, and he knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
And finding guys like that, you just gravitate towards them. I
Hmm.
mean, there's so many of them in the game, so many of them. So it's been cool to meet all the players and who does what, dude, you can learn so much from them.
Yeah.
Like I'm good at what I do, but I ain't the fucking best. There's always somebody out there that's going to be a little bit better, and they might know a better trick. And I want to meet those guys. I want to know what they do, how they do it, and why they do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man.
you know,
Cool. Well, guys, if you like
right
the
on.
show, rate it 5 stars. If you don't like the show, rate it 5 stars anyways. But yeah, be sure to share the
Goddamn right.
show. Give us both a follow. Tell everybody your Instagram handle if they want to follow you.
It's at underscore Gatticus, Gatticus, and underscore. So at underscore Gatticus underscore.
Yep, and I'll put that in the show notes. And if you
Cool.
don't like the show, but you listen this long, that means you probably liked it. So thanks for
Or
listening.
you might have had some things you needed to hear.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, guys. But look in the mirror and just ask yourself, am I who I need to be for the people around me?
mm-hmm.
We'll end on that. Talk to y'all later.